Let us close our eyes, remembering that God is omnipresent, Guru is omnipresent, all pervading within, in the breath. Please listen to these mantras that reminds Sri Guru's presence within. Om Sadashivasamarambham Shyamacharanamध्यमाम् Asmadacharyaparyantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shruti Smruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram. We are discussing about the Divine Mother, the Bhagavad Gita. So if you know, I'm going to chant the first verse of the Gita Dhyanam. Wherever you are, you can chant with me. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavatam Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamrutavarshiniം Bhagavatim Astadasadhyayiniम् Amba Tvamanusandadhami Bhagavat Gite Vavadveshinim. Praying to Divine Mother, the Bhagavad Gita, to remove all obstacles so that I can realize the truth within me. Om Tat Sat Om. So thank you very much for joining. I really feel blessed and grateful that we are able to discuss this. So I just wanted to tell you that here I have requested two of my brother monks, they're very dear to me, so that it feels that we are discussing live, because it is very difficult to speak in front of a camera without anybody here. So thank you, Swami Mohishananji and Swami Divyasudha. So we discussed, we have been discussing chapter 1. So our idea is that we'll discuss half hour on each chapter. That was the plan. But in the last class, I could not finish the first chapter. So I will just review a little bit about what we discussed in the first chapter. So we discussed how the Bhagavad Gita is very crucial to our life, because not because that it happened few years ago, because if something happened thousands of years ago and it has no meaning to my life, then it is useless to me. So there is a beautiful story I had read that one person came to sell shampoo, and he continued coming to that person's, knocking on the door, and the person's opened up, and then the salesman found that this person doesn't have any hair. So there is no point. Even if something most beautiful is happening, if it has no relevance to our life, then it is meaningless to me. So there must be some reason why the Bhagavad Gita is inspiring millions of people, or maybe billions, per year after year for thousands of years. That is because something is happening to their life. So with that aspect, we are studying the Bhagavad Gita. We also discussed that when we are studying the Bhagavad Gita, let us put ourselves in Arjuna's shoes and see whatever Arjuna is telling, whether it is has some relevance or it is just something. We cannot say that just because Arjuna told, it has no meaning. Let us put ourselves in Arjuna's shoes and see that. That also we talked. So we discussed briefly that the two armies are standing. The army's strength is 1.5 million, 2.5 million. Arjuna asked Lord, who was the charioteer of his chariot, to take him to the middle of the middle zone. And then Arjuna sees that only friends and family members are there. He feels dejected, and he says, how it is possible that for the sake of some material gain, I'm going to kill my near and dear ones? It doesn't make any sense. And look, suppose the war happens. what is going to happen? Millions of people are going to be killed, and when millions of people, and that warriors, men, are going to get killed, what would be the impact on the society? There would be devastation. There would be nobody to farm. There would be nobody to protect the country. There would be issues with women. There would be many women not to nobody to marry them. So there is a possibility that dharma or righteousness is going to go down. And I can't just stand by and just do this knowingly that this is going to happen. It's not, I'm not. So he loses strength, and certain things happens to his body. His skin dries up, his body is burning, he feels his body is trembling, mouth is drying, skin is burning, mind is deluded and not able to stand. He loosens grip on the bow, and he sits down. That is where we ended. We will discuss this chapter 1 from a spiritual aspect because it is very important, even if it takes a little bit of time. Because yes, it happened to Arjuna. And in the last time, I requested us, all of us, to contemplate whatever Arjuna is telling to Lord, is it not justified? Is it not true that it's going to happen? So, is the Bhagavad Gita is a discussion between Lord and Arjuna to address Arjuna's questions? Is it so? When we look at the Bhagavad Gita, it is not so. It is not that Lord is addressing that when people would get killed, these things are not going to happen. Lord is not addressing that as if that question did not even come to him. He's oblivious to that question. What he's asking is very clearly, Lord is asking that look, it looks like you are deluded. And he uses the word moha. And that is where the crux of the Bhagavad Gita teachings lie. So he says that Arjuna, it looks like you are deluded. We will come to that in a little bit more detail in chapter 2. And when all these discussions finish, in the last chapter, in the chapter 18, verse number 72, Lord is asking, "Oh Arjuna, we discussed so much. Did it clear your doubt? Is your delusion is over?" Lord is not telling that, did I clear your doubt about that, if you even if you killed things like that? No, 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 no. He's just very clearly asking that kaschit ajnana sammoha. This is the word he uses. Because of ignorance, there was delusion in your mind. Whatever discussion that we did it clear delusion in you? Then Arjuna says, in the next verse, he says, Nastamoha means, yes, my delusion has been removed. Smutir Labda, I have regained some memory of mine because of you, because of your blessings. So if you put this parenthesis between the discussion starting and discussion ending, Lord is not addressing the questions of whether, whatever the Arjuna asked. Arjuna's question was that if killings happen, millions of people die, there would be, these are the consequences is going to happen. And Lord is not addressing that. Lord says, it looks like that you are deluded. And then Lord goes on discussing things. And he says, is your delusion clarified? So from verse number 2.2 to verse number 18.72, if we just put in a parenthesis, we see the clarity that the only thing that Lord is trying to clarify is the delusion within. Now let us come back to ourselves. If we are clear, today and many times in our informal discussion, we were discussing, if Arjuna was so clear that this is a problem, he ordered Lord that, oh Lord, please take me to the middle of the war field. He did not ask. He did not seek permission. He could have asked, oh Lord, should we go to the middle of the war field? Is it okay? No, no, no. He ordered, like a warrior should order his charioteer, please take me. That's what he ordered. Similarly, Arjuna could have ordered, he said, Lord, I've decided I'm not going to participate in this kind of war. Please take me back. That's not what Arjuna did. Arjuna started justifying his action. And why? Lord did not ask for justification. Lord did not say that, why are you doing this? No, Lord did not ask anything. If we look at the chapter 1, these are some crucial points we should look. That Arjuna is telling everything spontaneously, his problems, and yes, as everyone of us is justifying it, which means that Arjuna is not clear. And hence the possibility of teachings arise. If a student is clear, whether mistakenly clear or rightfully clear, then the teacher has no option to teach. So many times people say confusion is not good, confusion is not good. I personally think if there is no confusion, why would I come to my teacher? I have no need for confusion. If I am not, I am no need for a teacher if I am not in confusion, isn't it? So Arjuna is confused. Here, the confusion has come from dejection, from worry, and hence, because that worry has taken him further to seek knowledge, this is called yoga of dejection. If this dejection would have taken him to depression, then we would not call it Vishada Yoga. This is yoga because this dejection is taking him forward to seek clarity. In our life, when confusion is happening, when dejection is happening, if we are seeking clarity from Master, and Master does not need to be the Guru only. The Guru can be a friend, a family members, anyone. When we seek some clarity, then the Master say, yoga is happening. That is why it is called Vishada Yoga, because through this dejection, I am getting prompted to get clarity or to get knowledge. Again, another thing I would like to point out, when the Lord is giving the final advice, asking that is your delusion over, is your delusion get clarified? Arjuna said yes. Now Arjuna could have said, yes, Lord, delusion has clarified, and further I have decided that I will not fight. What would have Lord do? So you see, this is the beauty of it. Lord is not commanding Arjuna to do anything. And similarly, Guru is not commanding disciple to do anything. So the master is just clarifying some doubt and allowing the self-will to come out. Arjuna voluntarily saying that I am going to fight. This is no commandment. Lord is not telling that if you don't fight, then there will be consequences. If you don't fight, then tomorrow I will not come and meet you or something like that. He is not telling. He said, I discussed, I told you whatever. Is your delusion over? He said, yes, Lord, the delusion is over through your grace, and I am going to do whatever you have mentioned, which means to do my own duty. We'll discuss the very inner aspect of this war. What is that war within? It's very elaborate discussion the masters have given. Dhritarashtra has been represented as mind. Mind is blind because mind is restless. So when we are restless, it's a very simple thing to experiment. All this can be experimented. It's a simple thing to experiment. When we are restless, we don't see properly because we are restless. So suppose something I'm thinking deeply, or something is bothering me. A friend comes and tells me something. I'm not sure what I was told. So Dhritarashtra represents mind, and mind is blind. Mind can go any direction. So mind has no, like, even if I close my eyes, my mind can go to any directions. According to Vedic philosophy, there are 10 directions: east, west, north, south, the four directions, four corners, and up and down. There are 10 directions. So mind is operating 10 sense organs, five organs of perceptions, five organs of action. So the 10 organs, mind is pushing them in 10 directions. So thereby a combined effect of 10 into 10, 100 types of vrittis, 100 types of mental agitation is coming. This 100 types of mental agitation has been represented as the 100 sons of mind. So Dhritarashtra has 100 sons, mind has 100 different mental agitations. That has been Lahiri Mahasaya has given. Who is Sanjaya? Sanjaya is mind cannot see it to distance, not to future, not to past. Mind imagines, hallucinates. So through the grace of masters, Divya Drushti or divine vision is given to us. Through sadhana it comes, which we call uh, intuition, which we call as intuition. The intuitive aspect of the mind, divine, like the pure intuitive aspect of the mind, has been called as Sanjaya, Samyak Jaya. When the mind is little bit, what do you call, controlled, calm down, then the divine vision comes, this intuition starts rising. What is dharma? Because we are dharma kshetra, kurukshetra. What is dharma? The definition of dharma the Kriya Masters have given is jive daya, to have compassion. So anything that we do to have compassion on others can be called as righteousness. So what is jive daya? Is jive raksha, to protect. So if I come back to how do I protect myself, the master say that if you remain in the fontanel, you are protected. If you are disconnected, you are not protected. So any activities that I do that takes me to the fontanel, which has been called as taking the mind to a state of calmness, taking the prana or the life energy to a state of stability, has been called as dharma. So dharma is prana karma or the kriya that we do through which the mind gets calmness and the life energy within us becomes calm. And hence it is said dharma means doing kriya. What is dharma kshetra? What is the place of doing this dharma? That is the body. What is the place of doing this prana karma? Is the body. Who are the five sons? Five sons are established in the five lower centers: throat center, heart center, navel center, second center, and bottom center. They are representing five pure elements: earth, water, fire, air, and space. They represent the five sons of Pandu. Pandu, the word comes, Pandava comes from the word, the father is Pandu. Pandu comes from the word Panda. Panda is intelligence. Veda Jwala Buddhi means intelligence that is shining with proper understanding. So that is that we call intellect. Intellect has five sons sitting in the five centers. So in our mind, there is a constant struggle between intellect and mind. Now, the intellect might be deluded at certain point of time. There is a possibility, which is called apohanam. The Lord had said that, however, the intellect has clarity, and hence, we many times we say that I did something, but my conscience did not allow me. That conscience is my intelligence. Bhisma is represented by the fear. We always fear. There is a fear. They say, the masters say, there is a fear that if I controlled my sense organs, then there is no life. People say, what is a life if there is no enjoyment? This fear, the masters say, represented by Visma. I would like to um, uh, discuss a little bit of the meaning of Sri Krishna, which is beautiful. Sri Krishna has multiple meanings. We are not discussing, and as I mentioned, Arjuna has addressed Lord with 12 names in the first chapter. Sri Krishna is Sri plus Krishna. Sri is a state of being. Sri has three letters: Sha, Ra, and E. Sha means breath. Ra means light within. E means power, energy. Sha means Shwasa, when established in the soul center through by pulling down the breath, establishing attention in the soul center and fontanelle, and remaining steady there is a state of Shri. So, anyone, that's why we call Sri Guru, which means that my Guru has attained that state where the attention does not come between souls, below the soul center. Somebody asked Divine Mother Sarada Devi, Ma said that I never come down the soul center. Never. Never in my life. She said, I never come down the soul center. So that is Sri. Krishna meaning means that something that is constantly attracting me, constantly attracting my mind. You see, if we think of what constantly attracts us, if we think of, then the one that we constantly attracted to is peace. Anyone we see. So the other day we were at the seashore and there were some crabs. There are some crabs, small ones. They were running around, and one of our monk brothers started running behind a crab to catch. The crab were like duk like this, and then after that, a little crab, little energy, he got tired, so it just lied down, and then we easily we caught it because peace. Yes, we would like to do something because of agitation, but eventually we get into peace. So the calmness within us has been called as Krishna, that is the soul center or Kutastha Chaitanya. That reminds me of Sri Gurudev's teaching. Calmness is godliness means that when the mind is taken to soul center or in the fontanelle and becomes stable and calm, that is godliness. That is uniting with Sri Krishna. There is a constant fight between in the mind between going outside and coming inside. We call it antarmukhi or nibrutti, inward attitude of the mind or the antakarana. Then there is outward prabhutti or the external way the mind has to go. There is a constant tussle between these two. And this war has been represented as the war in the Mahabharata. So in the Mahabharata war, the sons of Dhritarashtra are considered external, taking mind external. The sons of Pandu, our intelligence, is taking mind inward or antarmukhi. This is the tussle. This tussle has been represented as the war of Mahabharata. And here, the jiva or the self within the, is constantly in struggle which way to go. There is a confusion that there is a fear that if I completely control my sense organs and do not do external activity, there would be as good as death, and nobody wants to die. And hence, Arjuna's dilemma is the dilemma of the life within, the Jivana Shakti or the energy principle within, is whether to control the sense organs completely. If I do control, what will be the state of life? And if I do not control, what will be the state of life? This is the struggle. There is a beautiful poem. I do not remember the whole poem. It says, Prabhuti Nibruti Jaya, Nibruti Kache Javi, that mind is always going external and internal, inward and um, outward and inward. I will hold on to inward. Then I will have two sons. They will be my wife. My wife will do the inward movement of the mind. Then I will have two children. One will have a knowledge and devotion. So Thakur Nigavananda said to his father, he said, I had a wife. He's talking about spiritually. Her name was Sadhana. And with her, I had two children. One is Jnana, another is Bhakti. Knowledge and devotion. My father is telling his father, Oh my father, I am going to give you jnana and keep bhakti with me. So, the Vishad Yoga, according to the spiritual principle, is that there is a constant struggle for us to remain quiet, though we want it, and this desire not to be quiet inwardly is painful, and that pain is prompting us to seek clarity, to seek knowledge, because restless is not joyful, and this is what is called Vishada Yoga or the yoga of dejection. Again, the yoga of dejection is not for Arjuna, otherwise it could have been called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. It is Vishada that anybody who will be in that position will go through it. This is the end of first chapter. I took a little bit of more time so that the fundamentals, whatever we could discuss within limited time, is put together. Now we'll continue to the second chapter. What happens? So Arjuna sits down on the on the chariot, saying that, "Oh Lord, everything is moving around me. His mind is having headache." Then comes Sankhya Yoga. Lord, it is definitely not possible that Lord said, "Okay, I finished first chapter. Let me talk about second chapter." No, not like that. Lord is continuing. Says Vyasa has uh, created chapters. So Lord says, Lord becomes a little upset actually. Lord says, "What? What kind of delusion? Why are you deluded?" This is the second verse I mentioned a little earlier. Then Lord says to Arjuna, "This is uncivilized. This is this is not this is not even performing your duty. This doesn't bring glory to you. Don't be a eunuch. This doesn't suit you." And what is this? How come you are just sitting down? This is a war field. Everybody is standing. Take away your weakness and stand up. Then Arjuna say, "How can I stand up? How it is possible that I am going to kill my elder ones like Bhishma and Drona?" Now think of when Arjuna said in the first chapter that take me to the middle of the uh, um, war field, he did not mention take me this place. That was Lord's trick that he took him and put him in front of Bhishma and Drona. So Arjuna is telling how it is possible that I am going to kill my elder ones, and then it is not at all possible that I am going to enjoy the blood-soaked riches and the world after them. I would rather beg. I don't know whether war is good or not. I don't know what should I do. I am like a coward. Um, he uses karpanya. Karpanya means not clear. Please tell me surely, O Lord, what is best for me and what should I do? I am not finding a way. And this is very critical. I'm not finding my way. Please treat me as your disciple and tell me what is the best thing for me to do. And this is the critical point because this is the opening a disciple is giving to teacher to teach. I read one time one teacher said, one master was discussing about guru. He says, "Look, I have decided who will be my guru. The guru has not decided that he will be my guru. Because a knowledgeable person may not be my guru. A great man may not be my guru. My guru can be an ordinary person. My guru can be my friend. My guru can be my my mother, my father, my brother. Because it is me who decides who will be my teacher. Here Arjuna decides. It's not that Lord said, now everything, sit down and listen to me what I say. No, 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 no. Lord is quiet. Lord said, stand up. And this doesn't look good to you. Then Arjuna is telling that I am confused. I'm not sure what to do. Can you guide me? Can you tell me clearly what is the right way to do? And this is the attitude that is where a discussion, a conversation between Guru and disciple can start. If we go to a guru and we know what to do and need confirmation, then there is no point going to a guru. If we go to a guru just to tell that I know, that is also not a guru disciple relationship. Not that we cannot go, we can. The only way the guru disciple conversation can start when I can say that I'm not clear. There is what you call justification in this, and there is justification in this, but I am not clear. Can you guide me? So this is where Arjuna stands. And then Arjuna says at this point that, oh Lord, please guide me. I can't fight. Previously he said that I am weak. Now I am coward, and then he says, I can't fight. I can't fight. So we'll end today here. From here, the teaching start. So tomorrow we are going to meet again at the same time, 7:30 p.m. So please give us a minute or two. So we'll have a little bhajan, singing, remembering Lord. Thank you.
गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देव महेश्वर गुरुर्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरुदेव देव महेश्वर गुरुदेव देव महेश्वर गुरु परं ब्रह्म गुरु नारायण गुरु परं ब्रह्म गुरु नारायण गुरु सत्य शिव सुंदर गुरु सत्य शिव सुंदर गुरु सत्य शिव सुंदर गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरुदेव देव महेश्वर गुरुदेव देव महेश्वर गुरु माता पिता गुरु बंधु सखा से जे अंधारे आलोकर रेखा गुरु भक्ति ज्ञान मोर भगवान गुरु भक्ति ज्ञान मोर भगवान से जे चिदानंद सर्वगुणधार से जे चिदानंद सर्वगुणधार सर्वगुणधार गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरुदेव देव महेश्वर गुरुदेव देव महेश्वर गुरु परं ब्रह्म गुरु नारायण गुरु परं ब्रह्म गुरु नारायण गुरु सत्य शिव सुंदर गुरु सत्य शिव सुंदर गुरु सत्य शिव सुंदर गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरुदेव देव महेश्वर गुरु शान्तिर दीप नीति जाळे केते जे अशान्त मणिष मन तळे तार सत दीक्षा दिए महाशिक्षा तार सत दीक्षा दिए महाशिक्षा से जे अंतरे मोर आपणार से जे अंतरे मोर आपणार मोर आपणार गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरुदेव देव महेश्वर गुरुदेव देव महेश्वर गुरु परं ब्रह्म गुरु नारायण गुरु परं ब्रह्म गुरु नारायण गुरु सत्य शिव सुंदर गुरु सत्य शिव सुंदर गुरु सत्य शिव सुंदर गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरुदेव देव महेश्वर गुरुदेव देव महेश्वर गुरुदेव देव महेश्वर गुरुदेव देव महेश्वर जय गुरु सच्चिदानंद गुरु सच्चिदानंद ओम गुरु जय 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 गुरु सच्चिदानंद 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 गुरु सच्चिदानंद सच्चिदानंद गुरु सच्चिदानंद ओम गुरु जय 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 गुरु सच्चिदानंद 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 गुरु सच्चिदानंद 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 सच्चिदानन्द 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 गुरु 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 सच्चिदानन्द 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 गुरु सच्चिदानन्द गुरु सच्चिदानन्द सच्चिदानन्द गुरु सच्चिदानन्द गुरु जय गुरु सच्चिदानन्द ओम गुरु जय गुरु सच्चिदानन्द 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 गुरु 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 सच्चिदानन्द। बोल श्री सद्गुरु भगवान की। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनात् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनात् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनात् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः।
Thank you for joining us. We are really grateful and blessed that we could spend time together. If we have done any mistakes or any issues, please forgive us for that. On behalf of everyone here, we would like to thank you. And on behalf of everyone who enjoyed this beautiful music by Ravindraji, we would like to thank Ravindraji. And I forgot, because there was no time, I would like to introduce my brother monk, Swami Mohesananji, who graciously agreed to come to the satsang to give me inspiration. And Swami Divya Surpananji, he is sitting right here, did not want to come to the camera. And also Sampunanma, thank you very much, and Frederick Baba, and Matt Baba, who is doing technical activities on this particular program. May the blessings of God and Masters be upon us all. May they protect us, guide us in each and every moment. Om Tat Sat Om.